Welcome to the Sales and Marketing and Strategy AI Use Cases webinar. What I'm going to try and do is just give some few hints and tips from things that I've learned from using AI over the last 18 months, couple of years, some stuff that's specific to the Hatz system and some generic stuff as well. So and this will include some practical tips and some examples as well. So what I'm going to cover, it's relatively marketing heavy, I guess, but I think hopefully you can take little bits away from it for that you can do using in other areas. So I'm going to start off with teaching AI your brand, move on to teaching AI your actual voice, then using AI to use AI, build on that a little bit with a prompt to get a prompt, show you a simple agent, and then talk a little bit about strategy and how conversations with AI can lead you into some quite interesting areas. Okay, I'm going to start off with teaching AI your brand. So a question for people really is do you have a set of brand guidelines? So there's a first action to take. If you've got them, put them into a prompt, put your website URL in, put a load of your marketing materials in, and ask it to see how consistent your branding is. What you will probably find is that you've just given yourselves an absolute load of work, because what it will find is loads of discrepancies of bits and pieces that people have produced that don't actually meet the brand guidelines that you've set, and you need to go back and have a look at that. Now, if you haven't got a set of brand guidelines, put in your website URL, put in your marketing materials, and ask AI to develop some brand guidelines for you. So what that will do is it's going to pick out your general stuff, your logos, your colors, the style of artwork and things like that you produce. It will also start to pick out brand voice, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute as well. What these brand guidelines do is become the cornerstone of your marketing. So whenever you want to produce a piece of marketing collateral, you put the brand guidelines in first, and that helps you to get consistency across the entire brand. So it means that, you know, one of the key things is share it with everyone. Then you know that if someone from sales suddenly decides they desperately need some sort of marketing material, some leave behind sheet, despite the fact that they've never used one before and never shown any interest in it, and they go off and start to design it themselves, you're at least going to know that it's in the right style, the right company colors, it's going to use the right logo and that kind of thing. So that starts to get you some really good consistency in your brand, and gets everybody on brand as well. Now, following on from that is actually teaching AI your voice. So this can be brand voice and your personal voice as well. What we're trying to do here is avoid what we term as AI slop, and avoid sounding like everybody else. It's one of the things that you'll have noticed if you're on LinkedIn, you look on blogs, you can tell when something's been produced by AI. But if you do it properly, that won't happen. So your brand guidelines should contain something on your brand voice. If it's crawled your website and all your marketing materials, if you've added in social media posts, etc., it'll build up a picture of how the brand speaks. Now, our current website is about 7 years old. I call it the never-ending project. We're always adding to it. But over that time, it's not just been me. So we've had marketing assistants, we've had apprentices, we've had SEO agencies, developers, and all sorts of people writing things for the site. So again, this is another exercise that you can do from a marketing perspective. Once you've got that brand voice in your brand guidelines, throw in your website URL and send it over your website to check for inconsistencies. Again, you've just created a ton more work to do to actually pull that all back, but it'd be interesting to see how many discrepancies you've got in your brand voice as well. Now, personal voice can also be trained. pretty much using the same method. You give it stuff that you've written, you give it blogs, web pages, social media posts, etc. And that will start to train it on your personal voice. Now, I heard a story a couple of weeks ago at an event that I was at. Now, this was a published author who got a call from a copy editor friend of his praising his latest piece of work. She actually called it his best writing ever, but it was then AI generated. Now, he trained the model. It had read his books, it's read his articles, and it had produced something that was him, but arguably better. And a very experienced copywriter couldn't tell the difference between him and AI. So anybody who's producing the stuff that is so blatantly and clearly AI is just doing it wrong. I'm not saying you should get AI to write everything. You should edit it and all the rest of it. But you can produce some really, really good stuff, and AI can really help with that. The other thing that a lot of people I've noticed now are starting to get into is just taking this a step further and actually talking to the AI. So to develop this presentation itself, what I did was I came up with the subjects and then I dictated into a Word document. So this was just me talking about these subjects. I then put them into AI and it pulled them out into these slides and the notes that I'm using now. That was so much quicker than me sitting and typing those out. And when you dictate or speak directly into the AI model, which I know a lot of people are doing, it then starts to write something how you speak. And that actually comes across as a little bit almost more authentic than actually if you edit yourself whilst you're writing. And the next thing I will do with this is I will take the transcript from this and I will feed that into AI, because it starts to learn the words that I use, what I don't say, and my tone. And again, starts to just become more realistically about how I sound. Now, in a world where we record pretty much every meeting, you've now got a lot of your voice in a lot of different circumstances that you can feed into those models, and it can start to sound very much like you. So you don't have to be a writer, you don't have to have loads of blog posts, you don't have to have loads of social media posts, you don't have to have a book. You can just take recordings from meetings and that kind of thing, and transcripts, and start to build your own voice. Now, if you've done the training within the Hatz platform, I think it's pretty good, if I'm honest. Reasonably basic, but it is good. It's well worth using. But one of the things they talk about, and I've actually done some additional training from Hatz, so I'm not sure if all of this is in the main stuff that's in the platform. But one of their messages is using AI to use AI. Now, I'll give you a little bit of an idea of this in action in a minute, but basically, the best help that you can get with AI often actually comes from AI. Again, event I was at a couple of weeks ago, somebody asked the question, I want to move my everything from ChatGPT into Claude, and this is pertinent for if we're moving over into Hatz as an example. The advice that was given by the speaker, who an AI expert, was ask AI, ask Claude how you do it, or ask Hatz how you do it, and that will give you the best answer. So I'm going to give it a little bit of an example of this in a minute, this in action of actually using AI to use AI. But often you'll start something knowing what you want in the end. If you ask AI how to get there, that's the best way of kicking that off. So whether that's a document, a presentation, or a prompt. So as an example, if I wrote, give me a marketing strategy for an IT company, I'm going to get something very, very generic. But if I start with, I want to produce a detailed marketing strategy for an IT company, how can you help with this? I'm going to get a response which moves me in a very different direction. The second one, the better prompt, it does require work. One of the things that I think people often do is put a very, very basic idea and a very basic prompt in and expect AI to produce it the greatest thing in the world. It doesn't do that. You still need to have some work going into it. So in that second one, where a detailed marketing strategy for an IT company, how can you help with this? It's going to start to ask you questions. It's going to start challenging you. So it's going to ask you in this particular circumstance about target markets, about what your routes to market are, what channels you're going to use in. So you're going to be much more involved in a discussion with the AI, but you're going to get a far, far superior end result from that. So I'm going to give a little bit of a example of using AI to use AI in action. So this, oh, no, hang on, bear with me a second. There we go. Can we see the blog? Good, and not perfect. Just realized none of you can speak. So this is a this is a single blog post prompt that I use. Within this, we've got some other documents that I use. So we've got this that gives us the title. This gives us the long tail keyword, which I post in here. Then I use the URL of our content pillar that we've got within our website. So if I'm talking about cybersecurity, it's going to be cybersecurity. A few words about that, and that's going to subtly promote your IT department and the use of the pillar and cybersecurity. Given an idea of how many words. What I then do is actually go into and use the long tail keyword in Google, and I take the AI overview and I paste that into the prompt. So what you're immediately doing there is you're going, this is what Google is looking for. This is the answers that it's surfacing at the moment. I can use those as the main subject of my blog article. So then we've got some more sort of general stuff. Cite at least one report or article that I can use for an external link, tell you the audiences, voice and tone, etc., etc., etc. The obligatory, don't use M dashes or SN dashes, so people can't immediately tell of that it's an AI produced piece of literature. I also put in several subjects. So again, if we were talking about cybersecurity might be one, it might be cyber essentials is another, and I'll put as many subjects that I want to in here, and then small businesses, IT, blog writing, structure, creative writing, and SEO on that, all to shine through in that final piece. This is the prompt that I use to get the prompt to write the blog. So this is not where I ask it, write me a blog. What I then do is give me a prompt to get the best possible blog. And then it actually produces a blog brief for me, which I use as the prompt. So that is using quite a detailed prompt to get an even more detailed prompt, which gives you a much, much better output. The effectiveness of this, I think people will tell you that you can't rank very well with AI produced blog posts and that kind of thing. So this long tail keyword is Microsoft 365 security for small business. The AI overview is all Microsoft. The first results are all Microsoft. The third result is us. This was produced 2-3 weeks ago. So in 2 or 3 weeks of this being live, I've got in between the Microsoft results and above things like BizTech magazine, In Touch Tech, the Reddit results, etc., etc. There's another example here where this one's Cyber Essentials Guide for Manufacturing SMEs. Again, the AI stuff is there, but we have now first above the National Cybersecurity Centre for that. Now, that's not just me showing off, mainly me showing off, but it does go to show that if anybody says that you cannot rank with AI produced stuff, again, they're just not doing it right. it is possible to get really, really good rankings with stuff that is produced by AI with AI. So that's what we use to generate a blog. That is a prompt to get a prompt. And I use this all of the time. I very, very rarely will actually use a prompt first off. I will use a prompt to get a prompt, and sometimes use that prompt to get another prompt before I actually start to ask for end results from the large language model itself. The next one is a simple agent. Now, I think for me, one of the best features in Hatz is the agent builder tool. You tell it what to do and it builds the agent for you. So this is really good for something that you repeat. So show another little example. Where are we? Not being able to find the example. That's where we are. Bear with me 1 second on this. I need to go into Hatz, and I've not done that. Oh, there it is. There it is. I found it. Okay, so a very, very simple agent on that we produced on this. We produce a weekly LinkedIn newsletter called Bits and Bytes Weekly. Now, this used to take probably about an hour or so to do. What I do now for it is type produce, if you've not got caps lock on, produce this week's. So this has been set up. So it now asks me for 5 pieces of information. It asks me to produce the main piece that we want to lead with, the link to that article, the key point that people should take away, a bit of company news, and client feedback of the week. I feed those bits in. I'm going to do a very silly thing and put my own LinkedIn feed up live on the screen now. Got away from it quickly though, nobody saw anything. And go into newsletters. Now, the first thing that you will notice on this is there's the company news. So what I generally put in there is a line, and it will pull something together for me. The client feedback of the week goes in there, and the featured article is there with a link into it. Now, the bit that I think is quite clever about this is this was the bit that used to take the time. So I've got to go off and find 2 or 3 articles which had some sort of news about our industry or some highlights for this particular week. That used to take ages, and then you've got to pull it all together and all that kind of thing. I don't have to touch that now. That is automatically done. I just have to edit it and make sure we've not got stuff in dollars. So I obviously didn't edit this one very well last week. But that has cut down probably about 90% of the work that goes into this. What I've now been able to do is share that agent with somebody else in the organization, and they produce it. So this is now, other than having a final check over it, which again, I was on holiday last week, so that's why that one's got dollar signs in it. But having a check over it at the end, I now no longer have to do any work on this. This is just done for me. So I don't know. We've not got agents in the Hatz demo at the moment, but they are very, very easy to produce. It's the easiest one that I've ever seen to produce it on. The strategy use case as well. This is again comes down to conversations with AI. I made my originally my chat GPT. I've now got Hatz to about the same level. Quite sassy. It answers me back. It will occasionally call me names, because one of the things that we tend to find is that it's all a bit too agreeable. You can tweak that in the settings. Um, you can make it less agreeable. You can make it challenge more. And I've done that quite a it's quite a heavy degree. What I find with that is you actually then start to get into actual proper conversations with it, and actually see, it starts to test you. So the piece of work that I was actually doing this was to analyze the websites of some of our larger rivals against ours. So looking at the language that we used, how we differed, and maybe where why we were getting inquiries from smaller businesses and not the larger ones. So I went back and forth with the AI. We found some commonality of languages of those targeting larger businesses, and we'll subsequently got a bit of an action plan to develop the website, develop some of the wording. What also became apparent from that sort of conversation with AI was there were things that we hadn't got in place as a business, or that we didn't do in the way that those larger companies expected, um, came out in that sort of conversation. So I pivoted slightly, and I ended up producing a strategic checklist of what we needed to develop as a business. So we then got, there was some standards. There was 20 offering 24/7 support as a standard thing across the board. All of these kind of things that came out of that conversation. So it was an initial prompt that was about a marketing activity, and it turned into a conversation that led to a strategic action plan. So I then got two outputs from that. So we've got a strategic action plan as a business, to put in place some things that will hopefully attract larger businesses. And then I've got a marketing action plan for how to alter the website and the wording on the website, to improve our chances of attracting those types of businesses as well. Okay, kind of rattled through that fairly quickly, but I am aware that there's not hundreds of people on the webinar. So I just thought, just to kind of wrap up before we go to questions, without my head of sales and marketing for a company that's selling it I just wanted to end with a bit of an honest feedback on Hatz. I do think it's a really good tool. It's one of the things that we've probably got most excited about offering clients in the past 10 years. Um, we sort of grabbed it and got very excited about it when we first got hold of it. Um, it's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect. So what I really like about it, I don't have to compromise. Um, we were getting into a situation where we got ChatGPT. We knew Claude was better for some areas. I was trying to get Claude for writing because I know it improves that. I also wanted Nano Banana because I know that produces better images. And then there's other things that we wanted Copilot for. We're then getting into conversations about where data is going to be stored and where data is going to go and what we can hook things up to and what we can't. So this, for me, that security of it, that the security department, as you can imagine, where we work, it's pretty tight. They're happy that the data is sat in one place. They're happy that it's in a secure place, and I don't have to compromise on the tool that I want to use to get the best possible result. I mentioned agents before. I do think it's probably the simplest tool to get some nice, simple agents, of anything that I've used. Use ChatGPT, yeah, it does the job. I just don't think it's as simple, and I don't think it's as easy to use. And I don't think you get as good results. You can literally just go, build me an agent to do this, and it's done it. And then you just edit from there. The bits that I don't like, and I'll hold hands up, that the tokens thing I find a little bit confusing, but I think we know some people on the pilot have already started to work this out. We've started to work this out. You just have to be a bit clever about how you use it. So if you're doing something complex which requires deep thought, use one of the newer more expensive models. If you're doing something a bit simpler, use one of the basic chat GPTs, and you're going to use less tokens up. Speed, I think that's getting better, but you did see when I put the prompt in earlier in the agent, took a few seconds. I don't think it's as lightning quick as native chat GPT. And I've also put inconsistency. And again, I do think this has got an awful lot better now. What I was tending to find is I would get a really good result and then couldn't go back in, couldn't find it, couldn't replicate that. And I don't know whether that's improvement in the LLMs or improvement in Hatz itself, but I certainly think that has improved. So that's it from me. I hope that there was at least a snippet or two in there for people. I know I've got somebody on the call who's better at AI than most of the rest of us put together, who's probably just thinking, "Ah, that was rubbish and dead basic." But hopefully, yeah, people got something from that. I can see there is something in the Q&A. Oh, it says you can unmute yourself, so if you do have a question. Are there any questions, or have I stunned everyone into silence? Brilliant. There you go. Giving you half an hour of your day back as well. As I say, hopefully there was one or two little snippets in there. I know it was very kind of marketing focused, but that's where I use it for the majority of the time. And I did want to do it based on my experiences. So yeah, if there aren't any more questions, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. That was useful. Thank you.
No problem at all. Dan.
Sorry. I
No.
was furiously typing just as you were about to try and close the call.
No.
Sorry, I joined about 10-15 minutes late. I saw you showing the kind of like your impressive ranking on Bing, I think it was.
Yeah.
Did you cover like kind of how you kind of got to that from an SEO point of view of how, what made the difference to you ranking that well?
So did you see the bit where I search for that term and I pull the AI overview off and pull that into the prompt?
Okay.
That gives Google the signal. So that is what it's when people are searching for it, that's what Google is putting out as the results in its own AI search. If you put them and say build that into your article, it immediately Google goes, oh, hang on a minute, this is somebody who seems to know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
I
If I'm
found
not
that
mistaken, there's a whole new branch of SEO that's like AI SEO,
AI
which I guess will be
SEO.
the next gold
And
rush, right?
really, really, really difficult as well, because you can go in literally 30 seconds later, paste the same thing, and the AI stuff has changed ranking.
Yeah.
I can go into ChatGPT and put best IT support companies in the East Midlands and will be top. And then 10 minutes later, I'll go in there, no mention of us. 10 minutes later, we'll be back in again. And nobody seems to know quite how it's surfacing things at the moment. We know there's certain things that it does like. We know it likes award wins. We know it likes reviews and things like that, generally speaking, but quite how it surfaces your top three each time, either nobody knows or somebody does know and they're keeping extremely tight-lipped about it. But yeah, it's gonna make a big difference. It already does. You see on that a lot of people. It's going to be zero click and things like that. It's how do you measure how effective your SEO is and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, it's just what I need at the age of 52 is a complete change in in everything I've done for my entire working life.
Well, I was reading that people's traffic to their actual pages is going through the floor because you can get the answer to whatever it is you're asking for in that like AI summary, and then you can choose to visit the page or not because you've already had your answer or whatever. So
yeah,
it's quite a challenge for people that are driving kind of, well, mainly ad revenue type businesses that are driving revenue off of eyeballs on their pages.
Yeah, say it is. You for us, where it's a little bit different for us, because where you B2B, people are going in and looking for a little bit more detail around things. But certainly, as you say, yeah, people are finding, if you're an answer type thing, what is so and so, which used to get a load of the money from just people getting on that page and the ad revenue and all that kind of thing. Yeah, it's almost killing that as an entire industry. Yeah, interesting times.
Very, very much so.
Okay, any other questions? No. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. As I say, hope there was something interesting in there. There is a recording as well, or there will be a recording, so we'll pop that out and make sure that's available. So if you want to watch that first little bit, it'll be in there as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Craig.
We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye.